Well, a victory Monday. How about that? Not used to having Mondays where I get to come to work and feel proud to have a Browns hat or a Browns shirt on. It doesn't happen often. It may not happen again for a while, but for today, I'm going to enjoy it. Welcome in the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers here on a Monday. Wow, we got a busy week. We got Thanksgiving on Thursday. We got the game, the rivalry. It's Michigan week coming up on Saturday. We got a lot to dive into because it seems like when it rains, it pours in Cincinnati, and Cleveland may have found its get-out-of-jail-free card. So we got a lot to talk about today. I'm Justin Kinner again. Happy to be with you here on a Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I do want to start the show off by saying thank you to everyone who participated and helped over the weekend for our 10th annual holiday help out food drive. We set up shop for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, over at Firehouse 72 in Trotwood. And over 100 families were helped and provided with the Thanksgiving Day meal, which is really, really cool, especially at this time of year. You know, a lot of us don't realize how many families aren't fortunate to be in a position to know if they're going to be able to provide a Thanksgiving Day meal for their families. So to have an event like this where we're helping so many needy families in our own backyard, that was a cool feeling over the weekend, seeing how everyone came together. I mean, the entire Good Neighbor House truck full from front to back. I mean, we were having a hard time standing in there, being able to move some items around to fit more in. That's a good problem to have, and that's all because of you. So thank you, everybody who donated over the weekend and stopped out. I just thought that was really cool, nonetheless. But all right, we'll have more updates on that and the numbers of everything coming out of the weekend throughout the week. Jim Tressel, former head coach of the Buckeyes, lieutenant governor, by the way. He's going to hop on with us tomorrow. We're going to kick off the show with Jim Tressel tomorrow. Really excited about that. We're going to talk, of course, about that game that's coming up this weekend. Can Ohio State finally win it? But I want to open up, talk about the Cleveland Browns. There's not many opportunities where I get to feel confident in opening up the show talking about the Browns, but I feel pretty dang good about talking about the Browns nonetheless. So it came out earlier today, just a little bit ago, that moving forward, Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And thank goodness. Thank goodness. And I'm saying this knowing that the kid's not perfect. I'm saying this knowing that this kid has a lot of flaws. I'm saying this knowing that the kid probably needs to stop talking about himself so dang much. But I do know, after watching Dillon Gabriel, who cannot throw the football, who cannot make plays, you know, one of the biggest complaints that people had about Shedeur yesterday in his very first NFL touchdown pass was that, well, it was only just a screen pass. Well, I tell you what, why don't you go back to, I think it was the last game Dillon Gabriel played in, or 2 games ago. Dillon Gabriel he ran that exact same play, and he overthrew the running back trying to execute that same exact screen pass to the exact same side of the field. Shedeur Sanders threw it to someone who took it to the house. Healy's got it to somebody who could take it to the house. Dillon Gabriel can't even get the ball to that individual. So I'm so glad that this was announced earlier today, especially after watching what we saw yesterday. He's not a polished product by any means, but my goodness, he's an NFL quarterback. He can make NFL throws. Is he an NFL starting quarterback? That's still to be determined, but he is better than Dillon Gabriel. The ceiling is higher. All right. You know, I think that Dillon Gabriel has more composure. I think he doesn't make mistakes. I think that's everything, but his ceiling is so much lower. I'll take the mistakes from Shedeur Sanders, knowing that his ceiling is significantly higher than Dillon Gabriel. It is what it is. I'm glad that the Browns didn't waste any time in making this decision. And kudos to Shedeur, because he made it kind of difficult. Not difficult. He almost made it impossible for the Browns to not make this decision. I don't know how you could watch that game yesterday and think, man, I wonder if he's going to go back to Dillon Gabriel. I tell you what, the Browns made the right decision. I said on last week's show that when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, when it comes to the Cleveland Browns as a whole, very similar to Cincinnati. They have one dominant side of the ball, and they have one very, very weak side of the ball that is so bad that it's not letting you really enjoy how good the other side of the ball is. In Cincinnati, the defense has been so dang bad that you haven't been able to enjoy just how good that offense is, whether it's Joe Burrow at quarterback or Joe Flacco. Now, everyone's talking about how Joe Flacco is regressing. Joe Flacco, okay, maybe it's that, Shedeur, maybe it's that his wide receiver had to be an a-hole and go and spit on somebody and get suspended at the most crucial point of the season and leave him shorthanded. We'll talk more about that coming up in a moment. But the offense has been so dang dominant for the Cincinnati Bengals, and the defense has been so dang bad, you haven't been able to enjoy the offense. And that's not just this year, that's last year. Last year, Joe Burrow had a historic season, an MVP caliber season, threw for 4,800 yards, 45 touchdowns, completed 70% of his passes. Any other year, that's an MVP season, but the defense made sure that didn't happen. The Cleveland Browns have a defense where they got to the quarterback 10 times yesterday. 6 different pass rushers got to Geno Smith and the quarterback yesterday. It was a dominating performance. Myles Garrett already with 18 sacks with 6 weeks to go. The record is 22.5, and he's going to shatter that record if he continues on this pace. He has 18 sacks on the season, and he has 13 of those 18 sacks over the last 4 games. Stupid, ridiculous numbers. He had 3 of those yesterday. The defense has been so dang dominant, but we don't talk about the defense because of how bad the offense is. We don't talk about the Bengals offense because of how bad that defense is. And the argument about the Bengals that we have made and that a lot of you have been very correct on, and I've even said, okay, you're right. I'm talking about how the Bengals need to put together a Super Bowl caliber defense with how good that offense is when healthy. That's not necessarily the case. They just need an average defense, and they're going to win a ton of football games. The Browns, it's the opposite. I said, if you just get an average offense, this team's going to win a lot of football games because of how dominant that defense is. That offense wasn't perfect yesterday. They couldn't run the football. They weren't elite passing the football, but they put themselves in positions to score the football. They did that, and they came out on top. What did I say last week? I said I didn't need Shedeur to go out there to look like Joe Burrow. I would love it, by the way. But Shedeur just needs to go out there and run an average offense. The Browns would do anything for an average offense because that's how bad the offense has been. Well, they were average yesterday. I'm not even going to pretend to say that, man, the Browns were elite with Shedeur saying they weren't elite. They have a lot of flaws. They have a lot of deficiencies. They weren't efficient on third down. They weren't consistently moving the ball, but he provides them big play opportunities. And when you have a defense like the Browns do, you can take chances and risks offensively because you have a defense that can bail you out. And I said this last week. I said, if the Browns go out there and are just average offensively, they're going to win that football game. And I said, moving forward with how dominant this defense is, if they're just average offensively, they're going to win a ton of football games. I said, if they score 21, 24 points in a game, they're going to win a lot of games. And guess what? They scored 24 points. That defense was dominant. They weren't perfect, and they're not going to be. But they're going to win a lot of games to close out this season with the defense playing like that and the big playmaking ability of the arm of Shedeur Sanders. But guess what? He's erratic. I think he's still very all about him when it comes to the media. I think he tries so hard to say the right thing that he overdoes it to where it still sounds selfish. I mean, he can't help it. But you know what? Go out there and win, big fella. Go out there and win. Go out there and win. Keep slinging it all over the field like that. Put points up on the board. Let the defense eat. You can say whatever you want. It's going to get ugly when the Browns start losing and he's talking like that, but they won yesterday, so that's a battle for another day. I thought Cleveland, that's who they are. So many flaws and deficiencies on the offensive end, but they have a quarterback that is capable of making big throws, big playmaking ability with his legs, with his arm. And when the game does slow down for him and when he does, start to go on that progression process, look out. I think actually the Browns have their quarterback. I really do. I don't think that, he's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't know if his ceiling is that. But Cleveland can win football games with Shedeur Sanders, and he proved it yesterday. Yes, I know it's a bad Raiders team, but it was 2 bad teams going up against one another. One of those bad teams was going to have to come out on top, and one of those bad teams always goes down 2 bad teams, and the Browns didn't do that yesterday. The Browns look like the significantly better team, and this is a team that's the thing that's interesting about Cleveland. I think that if you take any other team in the National Football League that was picking in the top 5, and they go out and they have great performance. I mean, Isaiah Bond is a rookie. Harold Fandon Jr., a rookie. Quinshon Judkins, multiple touchdowns yesterday, a rookie. Devin Sampson, the running back from Tennessee, a rookie. The quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, a rookie. The team's leading tackler, When you look at Schlesinger, a rookie. The Browns, you guys look at them and think this is a joke, that they are a bad team. I look at them as one of the best success stories in football right now. This is one of the most dominating rookie classes that I could think of in a long time in the NFL. And if things would have just gone better in previous years leading into this draft would be, monumental. And I think it's going to look like that in years to come. It's just, I don't think anybody appreciates just how good that draft, that the draft class was. I mean, Harold Fandon Jr. is unbelievable. Isaiah Bond has big playmaking ability. It just, you couldn't see it because they didn't have a quarterback that could throw the damn football down the field. But it's unbelievable when I keep forgetting all the weapons that they just got just from the draft alone. Isaiah Bond, all right, Sampson, Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fandon Jr., Shedeur Sanders, and the list goes on and on and on. But I thought yesterday, like I said, this is my biggest complaint about Kevin Stefanski. To sit there and act like, oh, we're surprised that we saw big playmaking ability from Shedeur Sanders. Shame on him, because this division sucks. The Browns are 3 games back in that bad division, but they're going to win football games down this stretch. They're probably going to win 4 of their last 6, which is unfortunate because that's going to put them at 7 wins. And I look back at that Bengals game, that's win number 8. And I look back, let's see, when that Minnesota game that should have been theirs, that's win number 9. You have a bad team like the Jets who just traded away their best players. That's win number 10. All because of the ego of Kevin Stefanski. And again, that's another argument for another day. This show opening is about yesterday and yesterday only. But all I asked for was average, and he gave us that. With that defense, Myles Garrett, 10 sacks in one game, not by Myles Garrett, but by the defense as a whole. Myles Garrett had 3 of those 10. 6 different pass rushers for the Browns got to the quarterback yesterday. And you could sit there and act like, well, that's just how bad the Raiders are. No, they've been doing this all season. Myles Garrett has more sacks himself than the Bengals' total defense does as a whole. The Browns' defense is special, and it's been wasted. It's been equal. I think Myles Garrett is as equal of a victim of the Browns as Joe Burrow is of the Bengals. As elite as Joe Burrow is on offense, Myles Garrett is that elite on defense, and both have been wasted in Ohio because of the opposite sides of the ball. The offense has continuously let Myles Garrett down, and the defense has continuously let Joe Burrow down. And all one of those 2 stars needs is just average from the other side of the ball, and they're going to be put in a whole new light. And it looks like Cleveland is a lot closer to getting to that point than the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about those Bengals when we come back. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. 937-518-1410. We're going to talk about the Bengals when we come back, but Shedeur Sanders, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to tell you that he was great, but the kid's pretty damn good for only having, keep in mind, he took 0 first-team snaps before his first appearance last week against the Jets. Okay. And then you look at this game here, or the Ravens, I'm sorry, his first game against the Ravens. This game right here, they only practice on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and they go light Friday, Saturday before their game on Sunday. So he had 1 week, and people think 1 full week, not even a full week, and less than a handful of days to take his very first ever first-team snaps with the Cleveland Browns, and he went out there and looked like that. He's only going to get better. His personality, I'll agree with you. It drives me nuts. It's way too much I. But keep going out there and getting WWWs. You could talk about I all you want, I guess. They have the Niners next. Your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders' debut with the Browns yesterday? 937-518-1410. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Your reaction when we come back. We'll dive into the Bengals Sunday afternoon as well. That didn't go so hot. We'll get into all of that coming up. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Monday. We'll be right back.
Doctors recommend regular exercise to manage stress. We recommend that you just watch the Bengals defense. Same result. Elevated heart rate, yelling, "I can't do this," and the occasional tears. The Justin Kinner Show, your official cardiac clinic for the Bengals.
26-20, the New England Patriots over the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday afternoon. The Cincinnati Bengals unfortunately dropped to 3-8 on the season. And if yesterday taught me anything, it's that not all 3-8s are created equally. Because as a Browns fan, I woke up today at 3-8 and I feel great. A lot of you woke up today at 3-8 and don't feel so great. So I get it. Two teams trending in opposite directions. And the Bengals were stuck between a rock and a hard place. It does seem that I'm a big Zach Taylor fan. I think that Zach Taylor and the Bengals getting ridiculed for going out with Joe Flacco yesterday instead of Joe Burrow, I think that's silly. I think that everyone's just mad at everything right now. And I do think it, well, that wouldn't have happened if Joe Burrow's out there. You don't know that. You don't know that. Joe Burrow has participated in camp after camp after camp and has come out of camp a month of football and has looked sluggish. This cat hasn't participated in any kind of real football activity in over 2 months, and you expect me to believe that he was going to go out there yesterday and perform better, or at least good enough to the point where you guarantee a win without Jamar Chase out there, and especially late in the game whenever T. Higgins goes out. Like, the Bengals made the right decision not to bring Joe Burrow back a month early. They definitely made the right decision not to bring Joe Burrow back and put him in a position to where he would have to play 2 games in 5 days. This isn't hard. The Bengals didn't make the wrong decision throwing out Joe Flacco yesterday. You guys owe Joe Flacco for even having a shot in the last 2 months to begin with. I'm a big Joe Flacco guy. I watched him. I do a lot of great things in Cleveland the first go round. And he did a lot of great things in Cincinnati, stuff that is never going to be truly appreciated because the Bengals didn't win during that stretch. But we all know, just like last year, the quarterback didn't lose the Bengals games last year. The quarterback has not lost the Bengals games this year. That defense has. And the fact that people said, well, the defense looked better yesterday. Yeah, that bar is so low that we are actually praising the defensive performance from yesterday. Come on now. Come on. We ain't doing that. We're not doing that. The Bengals, they make it easy to criticize them, and you should. I don't criticize them for throwing out Joe Flacco yesterday instead of Joe Burrow. I actually think it's smart to throw out Joe Burrow on Thursday night, and it sounds like that's going to be the case. You throw him out on Thursday night, guess what? You play Thursday night, you're going to have 10 days between when you play Thursday and your next game. That's perfect. To throw Joe Burrow out there yesterday and have to quickly turn around and play his second game in 5 days after being off for 5 months off of it, do a turf toe injury, an injury, which, by the way, he's cleared to play, not 100%, still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But if you throw him out there on Thursday, it's a nice little way to evaluate, hey, he's going to play Thursday. He'll have 10 days between Thursday and his next game. It just makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, but, they should have thrown him out yesterday because now the season's in the drain. I'm going to tell you, even if they would have won yesterday, season's still pretty much in the drain. The Bengals aren't making the playoffs. 3rd straight year in the Joe Burrow era that they're not going to make the playoffs, and it's not going to be because, oh, man, they didn't play him in Week 12 against the New England Patriots. That's not the case. What a weird game. And look, I'm here to tell you right now, you want to blame anyone for yesterday's loss? Let's blame Jamar Chase. Let's blame Jamar Chase's actions, because I don't think that we need to forget what Jamar Chase did last week. And no, this isn't Browns fan trying to rub it in. And it has nothing to do with that. The margin for error is so slim with this team. Jamar Chase is paid $40 million. He gets paid the second most on this team. It was his job to go out and be a leader it's his job to be a leader at all times. But it was his job to go out and be a leader in the absence of Joe Burrow. And what did he do? He had to be a child and spit on another human being and get himself suspended. And that's why they lost this Patriots game. You lost 26-20. Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in football. Finally gets me to say it. And it's not like it was a hot take saying that he wasn't. I mean, Justin Jefferson and him have been so neck and neck as far as who the best receiver in football is. But no, it's Jamar Chase. So you're not going to sit there and convince me that not having Jamar Chase out there yesterday wasn't a big deal. It was a humongous deal. It was a humongous deal. And it was a humongous deal even before T. Higgins got knocked out. And it was an even bigger deal post T. Higgins with the game on the line. How much different would that have been with Jamar Chase out there versus, well, no T. Higgins and no Jamar Chase? Yesterday's loss is not on the organization. It's not on Zach Taylor. It's not on Joe Flacco. It's not even on the defense. It's on Jamar Chase. The defense finally held somebody under 30 points. You lose 26-20. You lose T. Higgins late. Joe Burrow's so close to coming back, but it was the right move not to keep him out there. Headline, guy that doesn't play because of stupidity is why the Bengals lost yesterday. It's that simple. Stop making this more complicated than it has to be. Jamar Chase plays yesterday, they win that football game. Jamar Chase plays yesterday, they win that football game. They're in a very good position to set up a nice little maybe momentum type run for Joe Burrow to come back. I still don't think they make the playoffs even if they win yesterday, but at least it would have been a different feel and vibe heading into Baltimore Thursday night on Thanksgiving. I don't think anybody believed that we would be talking about the Bengals and the Ravens on Thanksgiving night and talking about how both teams are desperately trying to find a way to get into the playoff picture. Now, technically, the Ravens are in the playoff picture because they're the division leading Ravens right now. So they're fine, but they had to get that win yesterday and the Steelers lost to propel themselves to that. But the Steelers are also 6-5 and they're sitting on the outside of the AFC playoff picture looking in. So the Ravens, this is a ginormous game for them on Thursday night. It's a huge game for them Thursday night when they welcome Cincinnati in. And Cincinnati, they're going to try and get a humongous win with Joe Burrow back under center. But unless all of a sudden, and by the way, Chase Brown has been doing a much better job running the football as of late. They're still not a great run team. I do like the way Chase Brown has looked over the last couple of weeks. I will go as far to say that. But Lamar against that defense Thursday night, I don't care if Joe Burrow's back. Because now you're going to get Jamar Chase back, and you're most likely, I'm assuming you're going to be without T. Higgins. This team can't afford any kind of, their margin for error is so thin. They can't afford the stupidity of the way Jamar Chase handled himself last week. They can't afford any injuries to any of the remaining star players, and that just happened, unfortunately, with T. Higgins. Man, oh man. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. Continuing on. So we're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Chad Kinster says, come on, Kinner. He never opened his mouth to that man. Oh, yes. I remember the excuse that he tried to throw out there in his lie. But no, the Bengals, Jamar Chase, I blame him for yesterday. Everyone's blaming the front office for not having the guts to throw Joe Burrow out there. No, that was actually called brains. They had the brains to not throw Joe Burrow out there yesterday. Joe Flacco, everyone throwing him under the bus. You guys are lucky that you even had him for the last 2 months or month or whatever it was, month and some change. I see a lot of Bengals fans, kind of poo-pooing on him to make a point that Joe Burrow should have played. Stop it. Joe Flacco is 40 years old. He needs a lot of things to go right for him to be able to produce the way that he has been producing. And guess what? When you take away the best wide receiver in football away from him, and you're going up against a team that's 9-2, now 10-2, yeah, your job's not going to be as easy, which is why losing to a bad Jets team is so painful. Losing to, and I know the Bears have won a lot of games, but that's a vulnerable team. You got to win that game. You got to close out that game. Losing to those teams, that stinks. Because it wasn't supposed to be easy against New England, and you still had a shot, even in the absence of Jamar Chase, even in the absence of Joe Burrow, even with the embarrassingly bad defense that the Bengals have. So the fact that Joe Burrow's out because of an injury can't help that. See, Higgins gets knocked out late in the game, can't help that. What you can't help is the player making the second most dollars on that team, spitting on another human being and getting himself suspended in the middle of a season when the margin for error is so thin. It's unexcusable. Adam Seldner, so he's weighing in on the Shedeur Sanders stuff in Cleveland. The conspiracy theory on why Shedeur had not been the starter since Flacco was traded seemed fairly believable. I'm not following what you're saying, Adam. Retype that, re-explain that. I'm sorry that I'm not following. Nonetheless, Rob on YouTube says Andy played. Oh yeah, and Joe Flacco played with the dislocated finger. That was crazy, by the way. He dislocates his finger in the middle of a high leverage drive. leaves. All right, we see, of course, they go, Jake Browning, he goes in, makes a nice play, by the way. Jake Browning comes out, Joe Flacco goes in after getting that finger taken care of, touchdown. Come on. We're not disrespecting Joe Flacco in Cincinnati. That's absolutely crazy at the end of the day. And the defense actually tried for the Bengals. Yeah. That's the thing. Like the one day that the Bengals defense did make some decent crunch time plays. They were the Bengals weren't good defensively. They were they got some situational stops that opened the door for them to be able to capitalize, and they just couldn't do it. And that's frustrating. So I understand that. Chad says the dislocated finger would have had Burrow out for 2 weeks. LOL. Man, oh man. Good stuff. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Browns, Bengals. What a week. Difference. Big difference between how the weeks went for both. But the AFC, the Bengals, Browns. So Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports, he jumps on with us every week. He's going to be on with us tomorrow as well as Jim Tressel, by the way. I asked Jason Fitz weeks ago when Joe Burrow went out. I said, you look at how dominant the defense is for the Browns, and you look at the way they run the football. There's a chance they could finish with more wins than the Bengals. You all laughed, but the Browns might have found a quarterback to make some noise with. They have a defense that's been making a ton of noise. The Bengals might finish in last. As bad and embarrassingly bad at times that the Browns have been this season, it might be the Bengals that finish in the basement in the AFC North. Wild times. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We have a lot more to get into. 937-518, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We'll take your calls and your social media reaction when we return.
Jamar Chase spits on players. Kinner spits hot takes. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. So a victory Monday for Browns fans. Far and few between those Mondays, but you know what? Feels good to finally get one. Now, as I said earlier, not all 3-8 records are created equally, because I woke up as a fan of a team that's 3-8. I feel pretty good. Some of you Bengals fans woke up today as a fan of a team that's 3-8. You don't feel too good. Not all 3-8 records are created equally, that's for sure. But I'm Justin Kinner, excited to be with you here today on a Monday. Big week. Obviously, the Bengals will play on Thanksgiving night against the Ravens. Unfortunately, that game doesn't have the build that we were hoping for if the Bengals were able to pull off a win against the Patriots over the weekend, 26-20 the final. But Cincinnati now turns their attention towards Baltimore. Sounds like they're going to get Joe Burrow back on Thursday night. A lot of people were upset because they didn't have Joe Burrow yesterday against the Patriots. That was the right move. The guy wasn't even supposed to come back to mid-December, and you guys want him to come back mid-November and go to, play 2 games in 5 days. That doesn't even make any sense. And it's disrespectful to Joe Flacco to sit there and act like, oh, there's no chance that you could have got anything from Joe Flacco. Don't blame Joe Flacco. Blame Jamar Chase, as I said earlier. He's the child that spit on somebody and got suspended. And it's a team that had a margin for error that's so thin that they couldn't afford someone to act like that. And then now you are going to be without T. Higgins moving forward, at least for the immediate future, most likely against Baltimore on Thursday. Just not good. It just goes from bad to worse. And now Joe Burrow's return, I don't know really what's on the line other than just trying to remain in the hunt. And I don't know, remain in the hunt for what? I'm not, the division, it could take some weird squirrely turns, It's kind of crazy because I never pull for the Bengals, but I'm not going to lie to you. There's a small part of me that's pulling for Cincinnati on Thursday when you look at how tight the standings are in these divisions. You look at the AFC North right now, Baltimore 6-5. Cincinnati and Cleveland 3-8. Cincinnati pulls off a win against Baltimore on Sunday. Cleveland gets a win on Sunday with Shador in his second start. All of a sudden, you're 2 games out of the division spot with the best defense in the NFL, or top 3 defense in the NFL, and all of a sudden an offense that has big playmaking ability. Yeah, I am kind of going for Cincinnati a little bit because I trust Cleveland's elite defense and capable offense more than I trust Joe Burrow with absolutely no defense whatsoever. That's how I view it. As crazy as it sounds, if there is a playoff window that is open, Cleveland, assuming that Shador can replicate what he did yesterday, which wasn't great, but as I've stated before, it doesn't have to be great. Cleveland's offense doesn't have to be great. Can you put up 20 to 24 points in that range and let the defense do the rest? You're going to win a lot of football games if you're the Cleveland Browns. And we saw that yesterday. And I see it already. I see people in the chat that have come through already and bring up the fact that, well, with all due respect, this comes from Rick. And I like Rick. Rick, he interacts on the page all the time. Rick says, with all due respect, brother, it was against the Raiders. I don't care. I watched Cleveland not be able to do a damn thing against the Jets 2 weeks ago. They've looked bad against bad teams that they should have beaten because of that defense. And they couldn't beat those bad teams with that great defense because of how bad the offense is. Now that elite defense gets to go be elite with a capable offense, and they made a bad Raiders team look like a bad Raiders team. So with all due respect, I don't care that it was the Raiders. Because had the Raiders won, you would, what do you mean? I don't get what that means. This is the NFL. This isn't college football. It's not like, man, did you see how good Ohio State looked against Rutgers over the weekend? That's not no. If I was doing that, you get to say, with all due respect, brother, it was Rutgers. The Raiders are bad. Yeah. But Cleveland has looked really bad at times too. And they've lost to teams they have no business losing to, the Jets being one of those teams. So I get what you're trying to do and trying to say, but I'm not going to discredit what we saw yesterday because it was the Raiders. Because I've seen this team not be able to execute anything even against worse teams than that. But 937-518-14. Oh, I think that we get to hear from Steve from Springboro. What up, dude? How are you?
What's up, man?
Another day in paradise. How'd you feel about yesterday? Finally a victory Monday.
Yeah, it's a nice win. Kevin Stefanski, if you're listening, I doubt that you are, but if you were, do not put Dylan Gabriel back on that field the rest of the season.
We agree.
I'm not saying that Shador is the answer, but you got to give equal time and equal playing time to that guy. And if you watch the game yesterday, as I did, and I pick up and I can see the sideline just seemed like they were rejuvenated. They wanted to get out there, and I don't care. And that's typical Bengal fans hating on Browns fans. Well, guess what, Bengal fans? I hate on your team too. So, well, let's get that out of the way. Irregardless, if Cincinnati would have beat the Raiders yesterday, they're going to the Super Bowl. They're down to Paycor getting their tickets. So squash that, Bengal fans. Anyway, I piggyback off of a lot what you said. If they can run the ball and eat some clock with that defense, and another thing, Myles Garrett, he's not going to get it, but if he continues on, he should be in the talk for MVP. But with our losing record and the way things are going, he's not going to get it.
Yep.
And I believe they should always give it to the best player, win, lose, draw, whatever. And it always seems to go to the quarterbacks. Running backs hardly ever get it. A wide receiver never gets it. It's always a QB. And I know that's your guy. He's the guy that makes everything go for all 32 teams, yada, yada, yada. But if he don't have those studs up front, and he don't have a running game, and he don't have a defense, quarterback is, too much blame when they lose, too much credit when they win. So, but I don't want to see Dylan Gabriel. At best, that guy maybe might be a career backup in the NFL, and he'll travel around. If I'm the Browns, I'm cutting him loose at the end of the year because I've got a good name for him. A noodle arm is a good name for that guy, and he just don't have it. And at least with Shador, you see and I'm agreeing with you to the point he does have a little concede to him and all that, yada, 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 but there's a fine line between confidence and concede. And I think the guy, you just see, and it really doesn't matter what us as fans think. It's what those 53 guys in that locker room think. And if that guy gives you the best chance to win and you want to rally around that guy and you'll go that extra mile, and that defense, you could just see they were just chomping a bit. And there again, don't care if it was the Raiders. Anytime you get 10 sacks on any team in the NFL, that's phenomenal. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
So, squash it, Bengal fans. We'll take care of I think we'll get the 49ers at home Sunday. Yeah, like I said, piggybacking off what you said, now you look back like a lot of teams always do when it gets to the end of the season and you got a losing record. You look at the Minnesota game, the Jets game, yeah, I know, and the 1-point loss to the Pop Warner team down on the river. And we'd be in good shape. We'd be right there. But it is what it is. But I still think there's going to be a shakeup at the end of the year. I think that Barry will take that job that DePodestos, I think that's how you pronounce his name, whatever.
DePodesto, whatever, yep.
Yeah, I think they'll move him up. He'll take that position. Bring in a new GM, and and I know a new GM, he's going to want his guy, his coach, and they're going to shake it all up. To me, I'd promote, if you get rid of Stefanski, I'm bringing in Jim Schwartz as head coach. He was a head coach for Detroit. Why not? The guy's a fiery guy. I like it. He's in kind of the same line as a Dan Campbell. So why not? Why not? Don't go out here and please God, don't go out and get a college coach. Don't need that. Don't want that. All right, man. I'll let you go. Woo-hoo!
There he is, the true American, Steve from Springboro, ultimate Browns fan. Right there. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I get what people are trying to say when it comes to the fact that it was the Raiders. Okay, cool. I get, I don't care. This isn't college football where the talent gap is so wide. It's the NFL. All right. And we see surprise. I mean, like the Ravens are the division leading Ravens to Super Bowl contender. And the Browns had a chance to beat them last week with the same Shador Sanders backup quarterback. Now, starting quarterback moving forward. So I don't care about all that. But a lot of people keep bringing up the fact that the Browns need to shake it up. I think if they do have to shake something up at the end of the season, it's just going to have to be because they need to get a different message in that locker room because it's just been the same one for so long now. In fact, the AFC North is fascinating. It's the longest tenured division when it comes to their head coaches. I mean, you look at how long Zach Taylor's been there. You look at how long Kevin Stefanski's been there. Obviously, Harbaugh and Tomlin, I mean, my goodness, they're synonymous with those organizations. What is the chances of all four of these coaches being with their respective teams next year? I think it's very slim. When you look at, you have 2 3-win teams as we sit here heading into Thanksgiving. How could these organizations bring both coaching staffs back next year? I still think there's a good chance that that's the case. That's why I always laugh when I see some of these reporters out there like, oh, national media believes that Duke Tobin will be fired at the end of the year. Yeah, because they're pontificating about an organization based on how normal organizations operate. If they knew how the Bengals operate, they wouldn't even be wasting airtime talking about the Bengals moving on from Duke Tobin. They're not going to move on from Duke Tobin. And in the eyes of the front office, Zach Taylor hasn't done anything wrong because, hey, we're losing because we don't have our quarterback. We're losing because we didn't draft a defense. I just don't think that front office is going to move on from Zach Taylor. I just don't. The only way they move on from Zach Taylor is if Joe Burrow starts making sly remarks to the media. If he starts making comments to the media regarding the future of the organization, he'll be gone. But that's the only way I see the Bengals moving on. And as far as the Browns go, Kevin Stefanski might be fine. Everyone thinks, and I tweeted this out earlier today because it's driving me crazy. Like, I want Shedeur to succeed, but we got to stop doing this thing. Like, there's way too much media obsession with trying to make him and frame him as a victim. Josina Anderson can kick rocks. Emmanuel Acho can kick rocks. I'm so tired of it. Emmanuel Acho, he clipped the Vikings head coach from earlier in the season when J.J. McCarthy got his first win as a starter for Minnesota and just, gave him the game ball and went absolutely bananas for the kid. So Kevin Stefanski yesterday, okay, in the post game, when they're handing out the game ball, he just kind of quickly brushed through Shedeur Sanders, and it rubbed people the wrong way. So if you missed it, here's Kevin Stefanski in the locker room handing out the game ball. He's super jacked for everyone in the locker room, and he quietly just says, oh, yeah, and, Shedeur making his first start, great performance, and then he moves on. And it rubbed people the wrong way. Take a listen.
How about that road win? Stayed resilient together like I told you we needed to, right? Stay resilient together, and we fought together. How about Gage's big punt return on special teams? How about Corey, every single time you're out there pinning those guys doing your job. Great. Defense wasn't perfect. How about that big play by Sam at the end? ID, huge play. Q, huge play. Harold making a big play. And then another rookie making his first start. Nice job, Shedeur. Well done. With that old saying, save the best for last. How about that fucking defensive goal?
So that game ball goes to Myles Garrett, as it should. Myles Garrett is having a historically great season. He is going to shatter the all-time sack record. I mean, he's sitting at 18 sacks with 6 games to go. 13 of those 18 sacks have come within the last 4 games. It is absolutely insane, the production that they're getting from him this season. And everyone wanted him traded and all this stuff. I mean, anyone that wanted the Browns to trade him, you look pretty goofy today. But Kevin Stefanski, that game should have been. This is how dysfunctional the Browns have been because of the bad quarterback play for years, or for weeks, for years, yes. But like for this season, the attention has not been appropriately pointed towards Myles Garrett because of all the talk about just the dysfunction of the quarterback room. And Kevin Stefanski is being a good leader, whether you want to believe it or not, because he's not making it about Shedeur like everyone wants to make it about, because this should be about Myles freaking Garrett and the dominant performance that he continues to put on every single week. So Emmanuel Acho and Josina Anderson boo-hooing and crying, trying to make Shedeur a victim. Emmanuel Acho tweets out that somebody show this to Kevin Stefanski. This is how he should speak life into Shedeur Sanders. It's not that hard. I tell you what, Shedeur Sanders, he doesn't need anyone to praise him. The dude's doing it all for himself. He loves praising. He loves praising himself. Shedeur loves some Shedeur. Shedeur needs Kevin Stefanski. By the way, and this is the funny part, Kevin Stefanski's consistent. Everyone said, oh, man, he hates Shedeur. He barely even brought up Shedeur in the postgame. He said, oh, by the way, another rookie making his debut. Good job, Shedeur, and moved on. Everyone thought that was disrespectful. Well, I tell you what, I went back and found the audio of when Dillon Gabriel is the guy that Kevin Stefanski wanted out of the draft. That's the guy that Kevin Stefanski drafted. That is the guy that Stefanski was adamant is going to be the starter. When Dillon Gabriel made his first start in that game overseas against the Minnesota Vikings, this was the game against the Dolphins when they got their first win. This is the post-game reaction following Dillon Gabriel's first win in his debut with, of course, the Cleveland Browns earlier in the season. Compare this to Shedeur Sanders and tell me that he's a victim.
Hey, Phil, how about that teammate game right there? Supporting each other. How about supporting each other? How about pushing each other? How about celebrating with each other? Okay? That's what it's about in this team game. When we push each other, when we pick each other up, I appreciate how you guys work. There's some good on that field. First, I'm going to start here. Just broke a record for most starts by a Brown since 1999 when Brown came back. 3 touchdowns for the young kid. Okay, some good out there. Some good +4 turnover margin. You're going to win a lot of games, probably all of them, if you go +4. Okay, that was a great job. Tyson gets his first touchdown. Grant gets a punch out on kickoff. Turned into points. Nice job. Corey, 3 punts inside the 20. Andre, 4 for 4, extra point, 1 for 1 field goal, 5 for 5 in tough conditions. Well done. Okay. And then defense, you're all getting the game ball. But I'm gonna do this. That defense out there, including to the very last play, okay? 4 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. Oh my God! Okay? This ball is going to Coach Schwartz for that plan and for executing that plan and for us playing our style defense. So where are you, Coach Schwartz?
By the way, you just heard that, right? We just listened to Kevin Stefanski's speech to the locker room after Shedeur Sanders' debut when he said, Shedeur Sanders, great job, and moved on. That was the speech to the locker room after Dillon Gabriel's first win as the Cleveland Browns quarterback. That was a much longer speech, and that was a lot more talking. 0 of it was about Dillon Gabriel. He didn't mention Dillon Gabriel once. He talked, of course, about the 3-touchdown performance in their win against the Dolphins from Ohio State's very own Quinshon Judkins, of course. He talked about the defense, just like he talked about the defense. We have to stop falling for the BS narrative that Josina Anderson and Emmanuel Acho and a lot of the media is trying to present out there that Kevin Stefanski hates him. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He drafted him in the 5th round, and he treated him like a quarterback drafted in the 5th round. He didn't give him snaps because guess what? You have 2 rookies in there. They shouldn't have drafted 2 quarterbacks, but the rookie, Dillon Gabriel, you're only practicing Wednesday through Saturday. You're not practicing all week, which means every rep, every practice time that's available has to go to Dillon Gabriel at that time. I'm anti-Stefanski because it should have never been Dillon Gabriel to begin with, but that was his guy. That's who we wanted to draft. He is not a victim. Okay? Shedeur Sanders is not a victim. We have to stop with that. I loved watching the way he played yesterday. He still has a lot to work on, but man, he's fun to watch. The energy from the sideline, the way the team gravitates around him, his success, it fuels that sideline. That's the team's quarterback. The team told you, yes. Now, Kevin Stefanski may have said it today that that's their quarterback, but the team yesterday told you, yeah, that's our guy. Shedeur's not a victim. People said yesterday, when he was asked about it, he said he's not worried about it right now because, I don't know, there's a respectful way to go about Dillon Gabriel. Kevin Stefanski going to have a conversation with Dillon Gabriel, so he lets him know so that he doesn't find out through some boob in the media over in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski's been handling this the right way. Outside of drafting 2 rookie quarterbacks, Stefanski's been handling this as best you can, considering the dysfunctional situation in Cleveland, because I don't believe he drafted Shedeur. But Shedeur's his guy now. But stop making him a victim, because that's all Josina Anderson and a lot of media has been doing. He wasn't drafted high enough. They cry. He's not high enough on the depth chart. Cry. He's not getting enough practice time. Cry, cry, cry. Now he's playing, but he's not getting praised enough. Cry. Stop crying, Emmanuel Acho. Stop crying, Josina Anderson. Stop crying, national media, who's trying to present this kid as if he's a victim. He was drafted in the 5th round and just made his starting debut for the Browns and got a victory and is now the starting quarterback moving forward. Where is the victim in that? How is he a victim in any of this? He's not a victim. He's not. And the media, they're full of crap. Most of them are full of crap. The way they've handled this Shedeur coverage, it's as wrong. They've handled it as probably more embarrassing than the way Cleveland has handled their quarterback room for the last 30 years. Shedeur's not a victim. And in fact, it's annoying because every time I want to get excited about Shedeur doing something great, I have to get on Twitter, which I need to stop doing. I get on Twitter, and then my stomach turns, and I get nauseated reading Josina Anderson. And by the way, don't follow her. I don't follow it. But the algorithm is, anything Shedeur Sanders, that's going to be put right in front of me on social media. I don't follow Emmanuel Acho. I don't follow Josina Anderson, but their crap keeps popping up in my feed. So it's annoying. And that's what it is. It's crap. They're not victims. He's not a victim. Knock it off. It is what it is. Justin Smith. Nope, not going there. Nice try, buddy. So 100%, 12 is not a victim. This coming from Kirk on YouTube. No, he's not a victim. And Justin, I disagree. I think some of the media is obsessed with staying on the good side of Deion Sanders, and that's what this is more about than anything else. But man, oh man, absolute puke coverage by Josina and some of the others when it comes to Shedeur. Like using that as an I told you so. He completed 11. Now they're forcing me to say bad things about Shedeur. He completed 11. He completed, 55% of his passes? That's not good. The majority of his yards came in a couple of those big plays, but overall his execution on 3rd down wasn't good. That interception was atrocious. Now you're tuning in thinking, man, Kenner hates Shedeur. No, I'm not. But you don't get to use yesterday's performance as an I told you so, because he looked like a guy that gave you enough speculation as to understanding why he probably wasn't out on the field. But then you watch Dylan Gabriel and you're like, yeah, he should have never been out there to begin with. The Justin Kenner Show, presented by Frickers, right here, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Sign up now. Jamar Chase spits on players. Kinner spits hot takes. It's the Justin Kinner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. So, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Zach Taylor made it be known earlier today that the Bengals will be without Trey Hendrickson, and they will be without T. Higgins in their showdown with the division-leading Ravens on Thursday night in Baltimore on Thanksgiving night, of course. So there's that. And it seems like, although they haven't come out and officially stated it, that Joe Burrow's pretty most likely going to start on Thursday night. So we'll see what all goes down. Now, look, I said this in the opening hour of the show. A lot of people are blaming the front office and Zach Taylor for not having the guts to make Joe Burrow the starter, because a lot of you believe that the Bengals win yesterday if Joe Burrow is the starting quarterback. And maybe that's the case. But I'm not going to criticize an organization that is trying to protect a player that is injury prone like Joe Burrow. That's not a shot. That's just the reality of it. Joe Burrow has proven, and I mean, outside of 2 seasons, he has missed significant time every year. 6 years in the league. This is twice in the last 3 years where he's pretty much missed the whole season. 3 times in 6 years where he's been knocked out for 80% of the season. So that's a problem. So I don't think an organization playing it safe with bringing him back from an injury and playing him where he's going to be out there in 2 of the next 5 nights, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I don't think they've done anything wrong as far as that goes. They make a lot of bad decisions. I don't think that was the wrong decision. Who I blame for the loss yesterday is Jamar Chase. Simple as that. No one's saying it. No one's going to say it. I am. I blame Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow makes $55 million a year. He's the starting quarterback. He's the face of the franchise. But the Bengals made a statement when they decided for a brief stint of time to make Jamar Chase the highest paid player, the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League for a brief stint of time when he got paid major bucks. And that's the second time that the Bengals have done that. Everyone labels them a cheap organization, but twice in the last 3 years, they have made one of their players the highest paid player at their particular position in the league. So they made a statement when they decided to pay Jamar Chase that money. So Jamar Chase, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that money. It's not just, oh, here's the money for your talent. It's also with what's expected of you, yes, talent-wise, but also being a leader on this team. And this team, the margin for error is so slim because the defense is so bad that the offense has, people say, well, it's like the offense has to be perfect. Yeah, it's true. They do. They have to be perfect. It's not fair, but it's true. But they put $120 million into 3 players all on the offensive side of the ball. $120 million of the Bengals payroll goes to T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase. $120 million. Okay. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And I think Joe Burrow is a great leader. When he's out there, he has that it factor, that team, your fan base, that organization. It's all about Joe Burrow. It's a cult-like following, no doubt about it. Jamar Chase has a responsibility at being the second highest paid player on that roster to be a leader. And he was not a leader last week when he spit on Pittsburgh Steelers, Ramsey, and gets suspended in a must-win game against the Patriots to keep their playoff hopes alive, knowing that Joe Burrow was coming back Jamar Chase knew that Joe Burrow was coming back almost a month early, because that's the leadership of Joe Burrow, trying to fight through adversity and fight through this injury to come back early. And all Joe Burrow was doing was pleading with the guys, just hang in there. Stay in the hunt until I get back, and I'll finish everything. And it wasn't the defense that cost the Bengals. It was Jamar Chase. I believe they win yesterday with Joe Flacco and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You lose 26-20. That offense has been so damn unstoppable with all 3 of those guys out there. No Jamar Chase, the offense looks flat. He's the best receiver in football for a reason. His absence, it was brutal. It cost him the game yesterday. And then not only does he spit on Ramsey, but then he lied about it. And then after he lied about it and got caught, he didn't apologize for it. In fact, he appealed it. And he appealed it and started continuing on with his lying and saying, oh, if I didn't spit on him, because if I was going to spit on him, I would have spit in the dude's face. How classy, Jamar Chase. Real leadership quality stuff, you bum. You cost the Bengals that game yesterday. So now we're not done with Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase has put out quite a letter. Jamar Chase, after, lying and lying and lying, finally decided to speak from the heart, as he says, and he put out a letter. He put out a statement to Bengals fans. Now, again, this is kind of tough to see for those following along, but I'll read it to you. This is posted on his Instagram. Man, this is a lot. I don't really want to read the whole thing, but here you go. This is from Jamar Chase. Okay? Put a little music behind it. This is a letter from Jamar Chase. I have not read it yet. I have no clue what's in it. I'm as curious as you guys are. So Jamar Chase says, to my team, fans, the Bengals organization, look, I'm not going to lie to you. There's no way in hell he wrote this. I could tell just by the amount of commas that are being used here early. Jamar Chase didn't write this. I mean, good for his agent. Good for his PR team. Great job. I mean, ChatGPT. I mean, that's this good stuff so far. To my team, fans, the Bengals organization, the Steelers organization. Yeah, there's no way in hell this dude wrote this. And the NFL community. Oh, nice. Good touch. Jamar Chase says, please know I am speaking from my heart when I say I take full responsibility for my actions during last Sunday's game at Pittsburgh. What actions? You didn't spit. Remember, I took you at your word. You said you didn't spit. Oh, I was dumb to take you for your word the first time. Then I was even dumber for taking your word the second time, and you appealed it and tried saying I didn't spit because if I was going to spit on him, I would have spit in his face. Shame on me twice. But he says, please know I'm speaking from my heart when I say I take full responsibility for my actions during last Sunday's game at Pittsburgh. What I did was wrong. The circumstances don't matter. My passion for the game is I'm passionate about my job. I ain't never spit on a coworker. I'm very passionate about my damn job. I've never spit on somebody. So this guy, I'm over Jamar Chase. I think he's full of crap. I just want to make that very well known on the Justin Kinner show that Justin Kinner's opinion, and I know nobody cares, and that's totally fine. But as long as I'm allowed to crack this mic, and as long as he's allowed to spit on people, I'm going to let my opinion be known about that bum Jamar Chase. So I'm going to continue on with this because I'm already annoyed reading it. For one, he didn't write this, so he's fake, guys. Like, Jamar Chase is fake. He lied about spitting, doubled down on the lie by appealing it because he said if he was going to spit, he would have spit in his face. And now he's terribly sorry for his actions that weren't actions not even a few days ago. Now they're actions because he's embarrassed and he has to come back and give me a break. I want to personally apologize to everyone within the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. I let my emotions in the moment get the better of me. I could only hope and trust that none of it represents who I am. Yes, it does. I still have the picture of you giving the double bird to the same Pittsburgh Steelers team. This is who you're. That's the passion. Like I said, I have passion. I've never given the double bird to someone at work. Maybe I've wanted to. Never given the double, maybe a single bird behind their back when they're not looking, when the cameras aren't on. But I've never given the double bird with cameras in the heat of the moment. And I'm passionate about my job too. This has been a tough season with some incredibly hard losses. We've all been frustrated, but instead of stepping up with calm, class, and leadership, guys, I'm not reading the rest. He didn't write this. I'm not going to waste your time or mine reading an apology letter from a guy who spits on other human beings and doesn't even have the balls to write it himself. And yes, I know Jamar Chase can beat the crap out of me. I'm very well aware of that, but luckily no one listens to this show anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. This apology ticks me off more than the actual action of spitting on somebody. You fans that fall for this, I hate to say it, so close to the holidays and me being mean, but I'm ticked off myself. But you're kind of dumb if you fall for it. If you find yourself reading this baloney message from Jamar Chase and you find yourself saying, oh, I feel bad for you. You're a sucker. You're falling for it. I'm not reading the rest. This is the dumbest letter I've ever written because it's not even from him. It's not even from him. He did not write this. He's a fraud. He's a fraud. I'm sorry. I don't know how you guys can sit there and be fans of him. I have no clue. I mean, I get it. Like, he's going to win you football. He's going to help you win football games. So, of course, you're going to sit there and be excited about it. But, man, no. There's no way that we can sit here and act like that letter came from him. That's ridiculous. Are you guys falling for it? Are you guys falling for that? Do you actually think he wrote that? Do you actually think that he's sorry? He lied about it and then doubled down on the lie when he appealed it. And the reason for his appeal was so dumb when he wrote in the appeal that, hey, I would have, if I was actually spitting on him, I would have spit in his face. And now he's so sorry for his actions. Guys, he didn't write that. It's a fake apology. And if you fall for it, then you're as embarrassing as he is. Simple as that. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. I don't know why I let that irritate me. I just don't like being worked, and I don't like when people question, that's a question of your intelligence right there if you fall for that letter. That is the most baloney thing I've ever, and I'm saying baloney because I'm not allowed to swear on the air apparently. But yeah, I'm going to go to break so I don't actually say something. But please don't fall for that, Bengals fans. Please say you're better than that. You don't have to, disown them or anything, but don't fall for that letter. Don't do the whole baloney mess of, oh, well, everyone gets second chances. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. Very childish of me to say, I get that. But that letter was not written by him. He's not actually sorry. And you guys are sorry if you believe it. We'll be right back.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan feature.
Show right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that Jamar Chase letter, but his statement is phony. He didn't even write it. It doesn't make any sense. I'm literally done with it after this. I'm making one more point about it and then moving on. But I think it's ridiculous. Jamar Chase, he spit on another human, lied about spitting, doubled down by appealing and saying that if he truly spit, he would have spit in his face. And now all of a sudden he's sorry for his actions. Sometimes no statement is better than the statement written by somebody else using ChatGPT. And to question the intelligence of the fans and everyone around the National Football League, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. Sorry. I don't know why I let that irritate me so much, but and then some people could say I'm a hypocrite because I was annoyed that he didn't release a statement. If this statement would have come out first thing Monday, like not today, Monday, but a week ago, Monday, I would have been more happy with it at that point. But he didn't say anything for a week. He wasn't sorry, and he's not sorry now. He feels uncomfortable because now he knows that he played a role in that loss yesterday because of his actions that he lied about the week before. And now his PR team's working overtime trying to make him look like, oh, he's such a regretful human. No, give me a break. I don't feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for the Bengals. He deserves this, and the Bengals deserve it for putting up with it. What a mess. I mean, and like I said, you could tell he didn't write this. He didn't write this. And I'm not being mean or anything like that. You could twist what I'm saying however you want to make yourself feel better about it, but you know damn well, if you know anything, I mean, he didn't write it. You just know. He didn't write it. For one, that's just how usually this works. An agent and a PR team, they write it for you, but it's ridiculous. But okay, moving on. It's Michigan week. We're going to have Jim Tressel on tomorrow. He's going to kick off the show with us. Really excited about that. But I hate Michigan week because that means the season's wrapping up. The season is winding down. And there's a lot of big matchups in this final week. And so tomorrow night, so we'll have Jim Tressel on tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, the college football playoff rankings will come out. For the second to last time. That is pretty wild that we're going to get the playoff rankings. I guess no. So there's tomorrow's playoff rankings and then next. So there's 3 more playoff rankings that come out. There's 2 more Tuesday rankings that'll come out. We'll get the rankings tomorrow night, the rankings a week from tomorrow night after the regular season winds down. And then it's championship Saturday. And then, of course, selection Sunday. So it's pretty cool, pretty exciting. Bittersweet though. I hate when the season's winding down, but also I hate, but I'm looking forward to all the big games coming up because I talked about this on the Sunday morning show yesterday. We were in Middletown. Shout out to Middletown, by the way. Middletown's going to be at Welcome Stadium coming up on Friday. It's the very first state regional appearance, state semifinal appearance ever. So good times there. We had a great crowd yesterday over in Middletown. Appreciate them. A lot of excitement about their high school football team. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But they'll be at Welcome Stadium Friday for that. But when we were there yesterday, I said, man, Ohio State's season, as we've talked about, I believe this has been a horrendously boring season. And I'm not saying that, feel bad for us Buckeye fans. I mean, our team's number one. Our team is undefeated. Our team is the reigning, defending national champions. There's no need to feel bad for us, but I think we could all agree this season hasn't been very exciting. Even the biggest game of the year, Texas, that wasn't memorable. Can you guys think of one memorable play from it? This season has been boring every single week, and that's okay. I'm not saying that to be feel bad for us. There hasn't been that holy Buckeye game. There hasn't been holy crap game. There hasn't been what the hell was that game. Every week, Buckeyes just kicking ass. And the only close game they played in was Texas, and that game was ugly. They couldn't run the football. The passing game was horrendous. The defense was really, really good. Of course, the bad offense from Texas helped that. It's been a boring year, and that's okay. But it's about to get really, really unboring. And I could sacrifice 3 months of a season for 1 month of just fantastic matchups. And that's what I'm really looking forward to when it's all said and done. Like when we finally get to that point, when Ohio State, I mean, when you look at the rankings and the college football playoff and how all this shakes out, to have Ohio State, who avoided Oregon this year, maybe they cross paths again in the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss against Ohio State, how cool would that be? Ryan Day against Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss against Ohio State. I would love that matchup. Maybe we get Ohio State, Alabama in the playoffs. Maybe we get that brand. Maybe we get Notre Dame, a rematch of last year's national championship. How cool would that be? Oklahoma, Ohio State. We're going to get, Georgia, Kirby Smart and Georgia against, Ohio State, Ryan Day, part 2 again. Like, I will sacrifice 3 months because the thing is, Ohio State's so much better than their entire schedule that if it wasn't boring, that means they would be playing down to their competition and then it would be boring. So I'm fired. Then it would be exciting, but for all the wrong reasons. So I'm fine with having a boring September, October, and a boring November. But now moving forward, every game is going to feel big time. So I'm happy. Like we got to this point now, I'm jacked about Ohio State, Michigan. I can't wait for Ohio State, Indiana. And then whether it's Ohio State and Alabama, Ohio State and Miami, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas A&M, maybe it's Ohio State, Oregon. Sure, they're in the conference together, but, they haven't played each other this year. That'd be a fun one. I really want, I don't know if you guys have had the chance to go take a look at the playoff poll, but go take a look at that. I am curious your thoughts. Like, who would be the team that you would be the most intrigued by? What's the matchup that you really want to see in the playoff at some point? Because that's what the 12-team playoff has provided is more potential big-time matchups. Like the 14 playoff, we would most likely get a Georgia versus Ohio State and then a Indiana, Texas A&M, and that's a hell of a playoff, don't get me wrong. But, man, I'm looking up and down this. You could possibly get Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Texas Tech. That wouldn't be the sexiest matchup, but that'd be a good matchup. Texas Tech is good. Texas Tech's offense against Ohio State's defense. I would love to see both of those powers go at it, those sides of the ball. I want to see I'll tell you mine. It's Ole Miss. I'm a Lane Kiffin guy. I'm getting tired of the media beating up on him because he's wanting to leave Ole Miss to potentially go to LSU or Florida. Why wouldn't you want to leave Ole Miss to go to LSU or Florida? It's just the weird, the media they don't like his personality. He has hopped around a little more than I would like. That's why I think, Brian Kelly is so disliked is, Brian Kelly has done a lot of the stuff that many people look at Lane Kiffin is doing. Lane Kiffin's been around the block a lot. Whether it's Tennessee, right? And even as assistant coach, he's hopped around all over as an assistant, but he was at Florida Atlantic for a bit, then the Tennessee thing. He's hopped all over. Goes to Alabama, then he goes to the NFL, then he comes back, and then he's been all over the place. I get it. I'm a Lane Kiffin guy. And I think that with what he's done at Ole Miss, he's made Ole Miss interesting. I want to watch Ole Miss, Ohio State. I want Lane Kiffin against Ryan Day because I believe now that college football, the thinning of the herd when it comes to the coaches, like Nick Saban's gone now, Urban Meyer's gone. The older coaches are gone. Like it's kind of who are the faces that, Dabo has done a very poor job at taking advantage of the reputation he created early on. I mean, he was a 2-time national champion. He kicked Ohio State's ass. He kicked Nick Saban and Alabama's ass in a national championship with a true freshman. And now we still don't respect Clemson because he just won't adapt with the times. And instead of adapting with the times, he wears it like a badge of honor. Like, we don't do that here. We don't do the transfer portal here. That's why the rest of college football is passing you by. Because imagine if Dabo Swinney and Clemson did what Ohio State and everyone else was doing, they would absolutely demolish the ACC. If we think Ohio State's boring in the Big Ten, I mean, Clemson in the ACC wouldn't even be watchable. And that's the opportunity that Dabo and Clemson is letting slip right through their fingers because of a pride thing. So I bring this up because Lane Kiffin and Ryan Day, to me, I think are about to be the faces of college football moving forward as far as head coaches go. I'm a big Lane Kiffin guy, and I think that he's the best college football coach that does not have a national championship right now. But it's Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, and I'm putting Lane Kiffin right up there. I do like, obviously, Oregon's coach and all this, that, and the other. We'll see. But I'm super excited about the possibility of getting an Ohio State Ole Miss matchup. Either way. Rob on YouTube says Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia. As far as that goes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if Ohio State, no path to the championship will be tougher than Ohio State's last year. When you think about it, when Ohio State had to run through, of course, Tennessee, then you had to run through Oregon, then you had to run through Texas, and then Notre Dame. I promise you, whoever wins the national title this year, the path to that title will not nearly be as tough as what Ohio State's was last year. But the brands could be somewhat significant. If Ohio State has to go through a Notre Dame or an Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss, they're going to have to play two legitimate powers to get to the to win a national championship. So I love the 12-team playoff. It's here, and I love it. And I'm a hypocrite because I was adamantly against it. I did not want them to expand it. But I do know that during the stretch when we were talking about the possibility of expanding to 12, I kept saying I was not going to like the 3-month regular season, but once the playoff got here, I was going to love it. And that's basically what's happened. The regular season was horrendous, but now that the playoff is basically here, I can't wait. I can't wait. So who knows how it's going to all play out. But Ohio State, Michigan, we'll have more on that. We'll be way more college football on tomorrow's show. We're going to have Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports, Jim Tressel, Lieutenant Governor Jim Tressel. He's going to hop on with us. Pretty cool. Excited about that. So we'll talk Ohio State, Michigan. Is this the year? Does Ryan Day finally snap this 4-game losing streak? KB talked about it on his show earlier today. A lot of these players on this Ohio State roster came back. They have a national championship ring. And they have a chance in the next month and a half to add another national championship ring along with the pair of gold pants, something that no player on this roster has. No player on this Ohio State roster has a pair of gold pants. They have a national championship ring, though, and they have a chance to get a gold pair, the gold pants, along with a second national championship, all within the next month and a half. Pretty cool. It's the Justin Kenner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Shador in Cleveland, the starter moving forward. We'll dive back into that next.
Let's go to Chevrolet of Troy because